Welcome back to another episode of Forbidden Depths. I'm your host, Queen Frostbitten, and we're here today to get down, dirty, and sultry by staying open, educated, consensual, and safe. If you're returning, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for supporting the channel and its growth. If, of course, you're new here, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe, because one taste will never be enough. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of Forbidden Depths. Today, we're going to have the lovely Lily Blake. Lily, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is Lily Blake, and I am a provider. I've been a provider for about 6 years now, and I'm loving it.
Very
I enjoy
nice. Seasoned vet. So,
vet.
so Lily, let's go ahead and kind of talk about who you are as a person. Like, what do you like to do?
That's a good question. I like to do lots of things. I'm in school currently. I'm actually right in the middle of finals, so it's been a little hectic. But yeah, I always love to learn. I'm in the Bay Area, so the beach, being outdoors, hiking with my dog. And yeah, I love going to festivals. I love to bowl. I love, all the regular kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Clubs. I don't really do bars much, but I love dancing. It's fun. I'm into the arts, going to museums and all that kind of fun stuff. I love to find quirky stuff to do. Like we recently had this kind of Alice in Wonderland scavenger hunt thing that happened in my area. So, getting dressed up, doing something like that. I love to find fun and different stuff to do that I can drag other people into with me.
Right. It's
Yeah.
always more fun when you can take someone with you. So let's kind of talk about you getting into the industry as a whole. So whenever you got into the industry, what was your introduction to it? Was it something that you just kind of fell into? Did you have a mentor?
Yeah. So funny story. When I was 19, I was working at 18, 19. I was working at Victoria's Secret. And I went to work one morning. It was probably like 7:30 in the morning. And there was a woman who was standing outside. She was beautiful. And she was waiting to or obviously to shop. So we started chatting, and she told me that her name was Sherry. And she said, you look like someone who, she said, we're looking for a blonde, kind of a girl next door to come and work. And someone just left, you would be perfect. And I asked her, I was like, well, what do you do? And she's like, well, I'm an exotic dancer. And, I work with some other people. And then I think the more comfortable she started to get, she started to open up, and she was like, well, actually, I provide massage. And, we work out of a house in the Bay Area. And so she gave me her boss's number. Coincidentally, her name happened to be Victoria.
Nice.
But yeah, so I called her on my break, and she came down to meet me at the mall. And at that time, she was just kind of like, well, she's like, I think that you might be a little too young. I'm not sure that you're ready for this. But I don't know, like, I guess that was kind of an intro to possibly getting into sex work.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I got divorced and was looking for a way to support myself and my family. And I started out doing FBSM. I found someone that I worked with, and she was amazing and kind of showed me the ropes. She was really good with Nuru, and I worked with her for a while. And then I wanted to make more money. So I found another provider. that I collaborated with and started working as an escort. And then I went to work for an agency as well. So when Fosta Sesta passed, I kind of needed a backup plan with Backpage.
Right.
So I started working in the South Bay where I live, for a well-known agency, and I was there for, I don't know, about 2 years. But I was commuting. It was a lot. I was commuting
Right.
like once a week. So yeah, I just decided to come back to work in the area that I was in, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Like, I love how they were just like, "Oh, you look like the girl next door. I think you should get involved because you could
Right.
do really well." I love
Yeah,
it.
but it was so random. I've never forgotten that, but she was so sweet. And I have such an affinity for sex workers. I always have. I
Hmm.
think that anybody in this industry is um just creative and empathetic and compassionate and
Yes.
incredibly intelligent when it comes to marketing. I really value sex workers because I know how hard we all work. So,
Yeah,
um,
for real. And
yeah,
how many jobs you have to do. Oh my goodness.
yeah, and we're such interesting people, which
Yeah,
is, you know,
I love that too.
I know it's
I love
awesome.
that too.
Yeah,
So, whenever you're talking about, you've been a seasoned vet for a little while now, and how can you look at like the beginning of your career and now and compare them? What's the biggest difference?
sure. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I don't think that I was as knowledgeable, although I do feel extremely grateful because I had some really good mentors
Right.
along the way. I think that honestly, I had some misconceptions about the industry.
Hmm.
Um, I really kind of thought that it was, Sherry from Victoria's Secret. She made it look very glamorous. And although it does absolutely have that aspect to it, it's a lot of hard work.
Oh, yes.
What we come up against. I know there's been providers have been reporting a lot. I think they've just been more out about the sexual assaults happening lately. And so, that's kind of a dark reality to our profession, right?
Yeah.
But I guess, those types of things I didn't really associate with being a sex worker in the beginning. And, just how taxing it can be. I mean, I've definitely taken some breaks
Right.
over the last 6 years because it can be mentally and emotionally draining. Um, but I guess my perspectives changed, not
Right.
necessarily in a bad way. I still really love what I do, but it's more the reality of it now.
Right.
I expect.
Right. Certainly. And I mean, with that experience comes a lot of knowledge that you can use to help keep yourself more safe. To, I mean, if you take someone under your wing, kind of give them pointers, be like, well, this is kind of mistakes that I made whenever I started out. Maybe if you have the information, you might not make the same mistakes, kind of deal, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a believer in that. I think we should all support one another and pass on what we know, and try
Yeah.
to keep others as safe as possible. Um, but
Right.
yeah, certainly it's why keep all the knowledge to yourself? I mean, I'm all about helping others succeed and be prosperous. I think that we should all support each other in that way. It's just my
Yeah.
personal feeling.
Right.
So I agree.
Yes. I'm very, very similar. So I didn't have, whenever I started out, I didn't have anybody that I could kind of turn to, no mentors. There were a couple people that I kind of reached out to get information, and they were gatekeeping. So they were like, yeah, no, if you don't already know it, then sucks to be you. And then I'm like, wow, this is like ridiculous. Like, yeah, I was in real life pro dom before I was online, but the thing was, I didn't know how to do any of the online shit. Like I didn't know how to do
Mhm.
that, you know? And then it was rough. It was rough, like one of those situations where I feel like most people look at it as an intimidation almost for new people to get in. Like, oh, well, if you get in and you're taking this penny out of circulation, that's a penny I don't get. Like, people are going to give you their money and purchase your time because of who you are, not because you're new to the industry or because you know someone from the industry. It all goes back to being a provider, having your time paid for, and that be a service. And people don't understand that if we help each other collectively, we can make the community better.
I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. The in call that I worked out of, a bunch of us shared the space.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I learned from the very beginning, we all referred clients to one another. You know, if someone had a client come, we would meet them. And so that was my experience out of the gate, is that, you know, and especially working with the agency, a lot of us saw the same clients. So, yeah, that sort of, what am I looking for? Like survival of the fittest.
Yeah,
I like, I'm not familiar with that because it's
right.
always been about like helping each other out. And
Yeah.
um, I think that's important.
I do too. And I love that. I fucking love that. I love that you had that sense of community and someone giving to you, making it a positive experience because in all reality, not everybody does.
You're
So
right.
those that do, they kind of know how it should be in our community, you know, supportive and productive.
Yeah.
But not everybody has that, unfortunately. But I'm super,
Yeah.
super glad that you are because I mean, that itself kind of helps you develop into who you're going to be in your career as a provider, you know?
Agreed. Yeah. And I'm sorry that you had that experience in the beginning. I don't think anyone should go through that. I think, you know,
Yeah.
we're all there to, I mean, at least this is just my feeling, but just to lift each other up. And, you know, because there's enough of the bullshit that we have to deal with at times with every aspect of the
Yeah.
industry. So, why, you know, bring each other down instead of lifting each,
Yes.
you know?
100%. That's exactly where I am too. I'm like, if somebody reaches out to me needing help, yeah, I'm going to help you. The thing about it is, some people reach out because they actually want help to get into the industry, and other people reach out because they want you to do everything to make them famous. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
So, yeah, I kind of understand that you have to get a feel for someone and kind of see if they're serious because, in all reality, we don't have a lot of time. We barely have any time.
Right.
So we need somebody that appreciates it. And I mean, I get that, but they shouldn't just be like, "Oh, well, you're new. I'm not going to help you at all unless you can give me something. I'm not helping you at all." I haven't found that since I've been in the community a while. Now I see I found the right people. So I found the people that are the good ones, the ones that you do want to learn from, the ones that you do want to have discussions with. And that's a beautiful thing, you know, to find people that you can literally just reach out to whenever you have questions or that you can kind of bounce ideas off of. Whenever you find your tribe inside of sex work, it can be such a community effort and so giving. Like I've never found more kind people.
Yeah, I like that. Me too. That's a good way to put it. Your tribe,
Yeah.
right? You're kind of,
Yeah.
you're all on the same page, and, you know, you support one another, and you're just always there to have the person's back, right? So
Yeah.
love that.
Yes. Yes. I fucking love it too. So going back to that, kind of what strengths do you feel make you successful as a provider?
My strengths. Probably one of the biggest strengths would be my integrity. And I know sometimes this can be kind of a shady business, but I'm one of those people that believes in the karmic
Oh, yes.
universe, and so I try to just have integrity within the business with other providers. My thought process is that even if someone else isn't that way, it's still important for me to be that way,
Right.
right? At the end of the day, I have to lay my head down on the pillow and know that like I'm a good person.
Hmm.
So I try not to let that aspect of it affect me. I just try to just stay on my own side of the street, so to speak, and take care of my. So I think that I have the ability to put people at ease, and I come from an empathetic place. At least I try to.
Right.
um, yeah, those are a few things that I can think of offhand.
Yes, yes. So, I do want to mention before we get farther into the podcast, if you don't follow Miss Lily Blake on Twitter, make sure you do. It's at date Lily Blake 1.
Oh, thank you for that plug.
You're you're very welcome. And super, super amazing, like all around, all around. I do want to let you know that whenever it comes to being new in the industry, if there's someone that you feel that you can't reach out to, um, like if you're getting your start and you're serious about it, let me know. If I know someone that I can point you to that can help, I'll send you their way, or if I can help you myself, I will. Because I feel like there are so many that do it unsafely, that are just like in unsafe environments because they don't have a mentor.
Mhm.
Um, so with you developing kind of your sense of community, did you reach out to anyone or have anyone that you crossed paths with that didn't have a mentor and then they kind of told you about their experiences?
Um, yes. Yeah, I've had girlfriends that have definitely started out on their own, without much assistance. And I see it all the time too, and I'm like you, I'll try to be there if possible. But I
Yeah.
think usually what I see in the beginning is um actually, yeah, there is one particular provider who's a friend of mine that I can think of. And her situation was a little bit different because she had a partner who was sort of helping manage her. And so I think the two of them were working together. But I saw she, tried to find resources on her own.
Right.
And she definitely had some uh she had one particular experience where she had gotten in the car with a couple of guys, and I'll never forget this. And I guess they were taking her, maybe she thought, to a hotel, and then she realized that things were going wrong really quickly, and she actually had to jump out of the car while it was moving.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and fortunately she was safe, but she had a few of those instances where she had to um learn, right? Learn
Yeah.
from, and thank God nothing happened to her. But yeah, that's kind of and I tried to be there.
Right.
She would ask questions too, just about the industry. But I think that the hardest thing is the screening process, right? Really nailing
Yes.
that. um and I think once providers find the resources for screening, then then it makes things a little bit easier.
Oh yeah.
The advertising, the marketing, I feel like that's kind of the easy part. But
Oh yeah.
I think that there's also that sense of intuition that we
Hmm.
get as providers, and that's sort of learned over time.
Hmm.
um, you sort of honor that and hone in to that, and know when something doesn't feel right. You get a sense of it, right?
Yes.
With
100%.
experience.
So whenever you're looking at the people that you spoke with that didn't have mentors and the ones that do you feel like their screening process is a little bit better just because they had someone be like, this is the best way to do it? Do you feel like kind of the people with guidance have a little bit more intuition developed because of the mentorship?
I do. I do. I think that they're just armed with more information, right? When you have a mentor, um you you don't have to rely really on yourself
Right.
to find um to find the answers,
Mhm.
you know. I think that when you have a mentor who has experience in the industry, they're able to, pass on sort of the ins and outs, what they know, what's worked for them, what hasn't. Um and you know funny crazy stories, let's not let's be
Yeah.
real, right? Those are
Yeah.
some of my girlfriends just have me in stitches because they just have some really really crazy stories. But yeah, so I think that it does help in
Yeah.
that regard, a mentor.
For sure. That was kind of my opinion too, but I like to get other people's opinions obviously because as a community we're very collective. There's so many different kinds of artists. There's just so many different kinds of individuals overall. So I kind of like knowing how each person thinks because um whenever you're looking at like a book, if you compile it with a bunch of information, then it's going to be more enjoyable to read and you're going to have more information available. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And um I I read books, that other providers had written. Some tapped into like finances and what to do with your
Yes.
that was really helpful.
That is
um
hard. Like when
yeah.
whenever you get into anything that's under entrepreneur, that's hard because you have to learn how to do that stuff on your own. That's kind of like how we were talking about earlier. You have to learn so many things. Like in the industry, whenever you get in, you literally have to be your own stylist unless you hire someone. You
Right.
have to be a photographer. You have to be a producer. You have to be your
Mhm.
own, like there are
Yeah.
so many things. You like you got to do
You
your own taxes. You got to learn how to do all that, like
right.
marketing, and all of those are hard jobs. I mean, that's why people get paid to do them.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And that's what I'm saying. And so as sex workers, no matter what facet of the industry you're in, you're doing everything yourself. I mean, with the exception of some things, but in terms of the business aspect of it, it's why I'm just it's so admirable, right? To
Mhm.
watch other sex workers make it, because it takes
Yes.
work. And I like to see people be successful because I know
Yes.
they're working behind the scenes, right? Because we all do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am the same way. I'm the person that's gonna be like, "Oh, you just made a couple grand just talking to somebody? Fuck yeah, go get that money." But now there are other people that are jealous and they don't try to support other people when they're making money. And I mean, that's not the part of the community that I want to be a part of because you're going to have those people regardless throughout life, regardless of what, field that you're in. So I don't feel like that's any different than the regular kind of work, because
Mhm.
whenever you work for these big companies, you're going to have people that are just bullies because they're jealous of you. That happens
Right.
anywhere you go. I used to work for a financial institution, so I know these things. I was
Mhm.
literally one of the best performers they had, but there were people that were jealous of me because of that, which means I didn't have the best environment because kind of like any community, there are people that they don't try to support others. They don't get excited when others win. I'm the person that's over here like, fuck yeah. I'm excited for you. And
Me
like
too.
I want more people to be like that because I mean, overall, we have a better environment, a better experience if we're positive and help each other?
I agree. I agree. Yeah, and looking out for each other in terms of safety and
Oh, yeah.
support in that regard. I am an advocate, a sexual assault advocate. I work on the rape crisis line, so I always try to make myself available to providers if they've had that unfortunate experience. Um,
Right.
I think that my hope, you're right, is that more of us are like that and we come
Yeah.
together as a community to support one another.
Yes, I would love to see that. And I want to say thank you for being part of the crisis line. That is awesome.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I
That is
enjoy
super
it.
fucking awesome.
Yeah,
So
it's good.
let me go ahead and kind of lead into the next question with that. You're talking about kind of 9 to 5. How does being a provider and a 9 to 5, how do they compare and how are they different?
Um, yeah, I so I've always had when I started out doing this, I was working full time, and then like I said, when Backpage shut down, I wanted to have a backup.
Right.
And so I had already worked for a couple big companies, so I went back to work with the 9 to 5, and I was doing this as a side gig.
Yeah.
Um, and I worked like that for a long time, both jobs. It's hard,
Yes.
and then um I would say that you know, being a sex worker allows you a lot more freedom.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons that more men and women, or however you identify, are getting into the business for the freedom aspect of it, right? So you can make money, good money,
Hmm.
and you can have the freedom really to travel, right? Like a lot
Yeah.
of providers travel, if you're lucky enough to be able to do that, or just to go to school, or
Yeah.
do whatever you need to do in your own life, be a parent, right? It
Mhm.
affords moms that opportunity
Yeah.
to do sex work on the side and be a parent. So I think that for me, like you, I've been in the position where there can be a lot of cattiness when you're working a 9 to 5 job,
Yeah.
right? Really rigorous. I worked remotely from home during the pandemic, and was still working as a provider, and that was a lot. I thought I was going to go crazy. So
Yeah.
we got really creative because we weren't really seeing clients. So during the pandemic, so Skype sessions and that type of thing. But we were at home, so
Yeah.
I was all from home, and I was going a little bananas like everybody.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so those are just a couple of the differences
Yeah.
that I mean between the two.
I found that the vast majority of people that get into sex works love the freedom that it allows. And whenever you're in sex work and you have that freedom, you can juggle multiple things. Maybe, you just want to do it as a side gig, or maybe you're building up so that you can do it full time. But they lack the flexibility in it because you literally make your own hours kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that aspect. So
Definitely. Yes, being able to make your own hours is great.
hmm.
And even working another job, because I know a lot of providers have civvy jobs. And so, the fact that you can fit in being a sex worker into your other schedule anytime you want,
Yeah.
right? If you're working a 9 to 5 and then you want to see clients in the evening, you can do that.
Right.
It's the weekends, however you want to make it work. The
Yes.
for sure.
Yes. I've noticed that that is huge in the majority of people that do any kind of sex work, not just, as being a provider, but just overall. It seems like sex work can accommodate for, like, if you have some kind of illness, if you have a disability, you're
Hmm.
making your own hours, you're kind of doing your own thing. If it's one of those things where you are a parent and nothing else goes with your schedule, you can fit that in there somehow, as long as you have someone to care for your kids. It's one of those things that it gives you the flexibility to still kind of be involved in the working community, but at the same time gives you the flexibility to accommodate your schedule.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
Nice.
let's kind of look at I know we were talking about earlier with the dangerous situation that your friend had been in. That's some really scary shit. That's some
Hmm.
really scary shit. So my biggest thing with stuff like that is I wish that they would allow regulation. There are so many countries that have allowed regulation, and it's a more safe environment for everyone, like everyone involved.
Right.
So I'm very passionate about that. I wish that they would just stop being like these conservative assholes and see how much therapy and good the business does. Do you
Yeah.
feel like you're providing therapy for people?
Yes. Yes. And um do I think we should decriminalize. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a believer in that. I also know that certain states allow you to report sexual assault and be free from any sort of recourse. Um, that's how it is in California. I think things are slowly changing. I heard recently that the some of the DAs where we are in California are not necessarily prosecuting for sex work. You know, if they come across um a case with a sex worker, it's not their inclination unless it has to do really with sex trafficking
Right.
to want to prosecute, because why, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's no reason to do that. It's a waste of time for the
Mhm.
courts and for the district attorney. But yeah, so absolutely, I had therapy for sure. I think one of my most memorable clients, I had seen him periodically through the pandemic, and
Mhm.
I was obviously taking precautions and only seeing a handful of clients
Right.
because of COVID that I had seen for a long time, and this was one of them. And he was moving. He was getting ready to move, and he came to see me right before he left, and he said that he had a lot going on with his he had a bad situation with his roommate, and he was changing jobs, and he was in the process of moving, and he says to me, I thought about killing myself. And he said, I think, what prevented me like coming to see you was one of the only reasons that I didn't do it. And I had this moment of clarity of like, wow, like
Yeah.
we do so much to help people,
Yes.
and it's and I've heard other stories like that too from other providers. And I was so grateful that he didn't take his life, obviously. And
Right.
um he moved, he's doing great, and you know tried to see me when he came back to visit. It didn't quite work out, but yeah, I think that it's like being a bartender or a hairdresser, or we're there as supportive entities to listen and and be empathetic and offer intimacy,
Yes.
right? Because that's or not, depending on what your
Yeah.
what your
Yeah.
facet of is, maybe the opposite, but
It's all therapy. It's all
all
therapy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Even if you're doming, it still is a type of therapy. I mean,
Yeah.
I identify as submissive, and so when I'm being flogged or caned, I know that that helps my anxiety a great deal. So
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's
yeah.
kind of what I was going to come back to. So, whenever people see DOMs, they literally just see, oh, I'm just going to beat the shit out of this person. That's not what a DOM is. A DOM
No.
has a collective environment where they're catering to this submissive's needs. So
Hmm.
it's literally the submissive that they're trying to help through a form of therapy, whichever kind happens to be the kind that they need. But I was actually talking to somebody on a previous podcast about this. I have a client that's been my client for over a year now, and he was explaining to me that the time that he spent with me has been better than 10 years worth of therapy. And I've been like, I take pride in that.
I love that. That is amazing.
It's so exciting whenever you get that positive feedback and I'm doing something to help somebody, kind of like with your experience. Like that makes you
Mhm.
feel good. Like I helped this person through something. And I feel like a lot of people get into sex work to try to control an environment because there were maybe spots in their life where they had environments that weren't completely controlled. Like for me, I wasn't really allowed to be myself when I was younger. So
Mhm.
whenever I got older and I kind of embraced myself and I was becoming my true self, it was one of those things where I promote everybody being themselves because I didn't have that whenever I
Mhm.
was younger. I come from a really religious background, and I wasn't allowed to do certain things. I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. So whenever I look back at people that kind of come up to me looking for sessions and stuff, they're like, "Oh, please don't judge me," and I'm like, "We don't do that here."
Right?
We don't do that here. So for me, I try to promote people to be their true self and to communicate because we can't really help them in therapy if they're not honest with themselves,
Mhm.
and they have to be honest with themselves to be honest with us.
I agree with that. I agree, and communication is key, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, even if someone else isn't capable of communicating, I think we have ways as providers to allow people to feel comfortable enough to open up, you know.
Yes.
You can ask probing questions, you can check in with people to make sure that they're doing okay, right? There
Hmm.
are things you can do, but, yeah, I love that. I love that you have taken the experience that you had, in childhood and in your youth and have turned it into something positive.
Yeah.
Uh,
I love it too. I
yeah.
Well, not just for myself, but I love it for other people. So when I'm listening to someone else's story and they're telling me kind of where they started and where they're kind of going, their progress along the way, I'm like, I'm so happy that this person turned some kind of trauma or some kind of pain into something fucking beautiful. Because
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you that not everyone can do that,
you're right.
you know?
You're right.
So that kind of leads me back to my next question. I know we were talking about the friend that you had that was in a dangerous situation. Have you ever experienced anything like that for yourself? Like, have you ever been in a dangerous situation where you felt like some part of your health was at risk, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally?
Yes. So I have been stealthed by clients. It's happened twice.
Mhm.
It happened recently with a client that I've been seeing a really, really long time. And it was unfortunate because I found out that he had been doing it to other providers. When it happened, I wasn't entirely sure that it happened. And so I I know that sounds kind of crazy that I wouldn't be sure, but I think it was more a case of like I trusted this person because I
Right.
had this relationship with them, and I thought I was going crazy for a moment, and then when another provider came forward, it sort of validated my experience. And obviously, I don't see this client anymore, and I've been able to warn others in the ways that we do. But other than that, like I haven't really found myself in a situation where I felt my safety was in jeopardy.
Okay.
That I mean, obviously, stealthing is a form of sexual assault, so I don't want to diminish
Right.
that.
Right. 100%.
But in terms of physical violence, I haven't been um, in that situation, fortunately.
Good. Good. I'm so glad. So, I always like to ask because that's one of the first questions everyone asks me, like civvies. Have you ever been hurt? And I'm like, not everybody in the industry gets hurt. Like, yes, there are things that could happen and there's always that potential, but overall, I found that usually it's a pretty positive, productive environment.
Yes, I agree, and I think that that was one of the misconceptions, right?
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
people have about this type of work is that I mean, I have clients, regulars that are concerned for my safety. Um, I think that that's natural, right?
Oh
In
yeah.
this line to be concerned, but um yeah, I think a lot of it is about educating people, right? So
Yes.
and to try to, at least for myself, I try to do it in a non-judgmental way, because you don't know what you don't know, and so I
Right.
can provide information so that people have clarity around this business. And I can obviously only offer my experience. I can't speak on behalf of all sex workers. But yeah, I think it's about educating people and letting them know that, like, this is not, sex work is often not what you think it is, or the
Yeah.
like idea that you had about it. And so
Yeah.
that's where the education aspect comes in.
100%. I completely
Yeah.
agree. And I think a lot of people don't even know what the sex work kind of entails. Like there's things that they don't even know are sex work.
Right.
Like strippers, and whenever you're talking about these erotic massages, all of that is sex
Mhm.
work. Burlesque dancers, those are experts in the community. Like
Mhm.
there are so many people that are in sex work that people do not understand or relate to sex work. It's not just providers, it's not just doms, there's professional submissives too.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's so much in the community and people don't understand that. Like I like the different branches, the different specialties that you have without the community, because
Mhm.
it's the community as a whole that makes it fucking beautiful. I love it.
Me too.
And it's like people just don't understand the different aspects of it.
Right. There, there's a lot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there are many, many different facets of sex work, and I think that that's what's so cool about it, is that you can sort of pick your niche and
Yes.
find what works for you, what feels good for you, and give it a go. And if it doesn't, you can try something else,
Yes, 100%. You
or
don't
be
have
doing
to get stuck in one thing, you know?
right. Yeah, exactly. Not stuck in a box, and you can do multiple things at once if you're good
Yeah.
at multitasking.
Yeah. Yeah. Which can
I'm
be a
not,
little difficult.
yeah.
I completely agree. So I was actually speaking with a dom a few days ago. I had an interview with a dom, and she was telling me how she kind of got her start in being a submissive, and it was not for her at all, at all. So she kind of left the community and then came back years later, and she was introduced to dom life, and she's like, yeah, this is it. Like this is it for me.
Mhm.
And people don't realize that you can dabble and find out what you are. It's not one of those things you got to get in and then lock in. um Explore. It's like anything else. Whenever you are moving positions at any other job, you're deciding kind of what you like best. It's the same in the industry. You literally
Mhm.
get to decide what you like, because I mean, let's face it, not everybody is this like porn star that you go to for these like over the top experiences. Like
Right.
to be a porn star, you got to kind of be over the top with it. You got to be a really
Mhm.
good actor. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, you don't have someone that you're performing to. If you're like a provider, you don't have like a camera that you're performing to. Yes, you're kind of accommodating an individual, but you don't have like a camera that you're performing to. So it's a little more intimate.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to find your own niche within the community. Um, let's talk about a support system. So
Sure.
you do you have anyone that's outside of your provider network that supports you in being yourself to the fullest in the community?
I do. So I'm out to my family and my friends. The reason I'm not face out is because I have children, and
Right.
so one is a teenager, and so I want to be respectful of that.
Right.
that's the biggest reason. But my family, they are supportive, and um, I have a bunch of girlfriends, some that I've grown up with and known for a long time, and they're
Mhm.
very supportive. I'm also in recovery, so I've
Mhm.
been clean and sober for about 6 years. So I have that support system as well. Um,
Nice. Congratulations.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's I come across um providers on Twitter, and they're like, I decided that I wanted to, quit drinking. And I'm like, go you, because they're
Yeah.
like better. And I like to be supportive of
Yes.
um workers in that aspect too. So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I am. And I feel like whenever you kind of do get into the community, it is one of those things that you kind of lean on that if you feel like there's something not going okay for you, because not everybody that works in the industry has somebody that they can talk to, which is
yeah.
why I love that you have the support from your family, your friends, you're kind of out to them and you can talk to them. So if something goes down, that's a negative experience. It doesn't have to be like something physical. It could just be something that you're unsettled with. You can be like, hey, I was in this situation and this is how it made me feel. And just having that sometimes means the world. Just being able to talk to someone, you know?
You're right, it does. It does. And I'm incredibly empathetic, and to providers that don't have that support network. And I think that's part of what motivates me to really, want to be there for others in the community, is that, you know, we don't we don't all have that support. There was an app, I can't think of the name of it, but a sex worker had developed this app, and I don't know, this was maybe like 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And one of the things that was nice about it is that you could get on there and you could talk to other people. And I remember some of the messages would be just providers late in the night that would feel lonely, or they'd be having a really bad day, or they'd be feeling really depressed, and it was a way to sort of connect with each other.
Yeah.
um, and you could just sort of respond and try to help that person through whatever they were going through at the moment. And
Right.
uh, people would offer, call me, or I'm here for you, that type of thing. And I thought that was so valuable.
Yes, definitely is. I feel like we need more of that. We need
Hmm.
more of people that want to help each other, that want to reach out. Because I mean, you just giving someone 5 minutes of your time and being like, it's okay, you're not alone, that could literally save someone's life,
Hmm.
you know?
Agreed.
So, it's really, really cool that you have the support system, that you kind of have someone that you can fall back on. Let's talk about a little bit of your childhood. Whenever you were, a child, a teenager, or an early adult, did you ever have any kind of trauma?
Sure, I did. um yeah, I think that it's really hard for anyone to go through life unscathed without some type of trauma. But I
Yeah.
feel like another misconception about this industry is that, like, if you've had some sort of trauma, that's why we become sex workers. And that, I want to say
Yeah.
that, that may be the case for some, but not all. And
Yes.
I don't uh I don't ever try to judge anybody based on, like, their
Right.
experience they've come from. We all make decisions to get into this line of work for whatever reason. And
Mhm.
but yeah, certainly I had a father who was an alcoholic growing up. So being the child of an alcoholic, that was difficult.
Oh, yes.
I had a couple experiences with some sexual assaults.
Mhm.
Um, but I also worked through that trauma, and it's a lot of what
Yes.
propelled me to want to help others today. Is because I have dealt with that.
That's so beautiful. So beautiful. And I really like that you come from having a situation that was kind of out of your control, and it being kind of a negative experience, turning it into something positive and powerful. Like, I have found so many people find power and love in sex work. So that kind of leads me to my next thing. The next question I have for you is, what has sex work brought to your life?
So much more than I ever thought that it would. I would say that I have discovered so much about myself that I probably never would have if I hadn't been in this line of work. And just it's allowed me, those I'm in school right now studying human services, social work, specifically addiction studies so that I can help other addicts, right? So I feel like I've already had that sort of empathetic part of me, that need to want to help other people. It's just who I
Right.
am.
Yeah.
But being in sex work has allowed me to take that part of myself and utilize it in a different way, right? So I've been able to see clients who are in recovery, and that's awesome because we have that in common, and we get to
Yeah.
talk about that. And even just in terms of like the business aspect of it, like with the marketing and the financial planning, um, use of social media, being able to promote yourself, all
Yeah.
these different things that I had to learn
Yeah.
along the way. And just you get to use your creative side too,
Hmm.
right? I mean, that's awesome. There are so many different ways to be creative, whether you're creating content or actually working with a client, and
Hmm.
finding different ways to do that. But I would say uh I have been able to push myself beyond limits and get outside of myself more than I ever thought that I would. I've discovered a lot about my own sexuality,
Hmm.
uh, and really just who I am as a person, and what makes me happy.
Yeah.
Uh, I genuinely enjoy sex work. I will probably be retiring within the next year or so, just because um my life is taking a different direction, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't take this back or trade it for anything in the world, this experience.
Yeah. I love it. I fucking love it. Okay. All right. So let's kind of talk about your younger self a little bit more. If you could talk to your younger self and you could kind of just give them some piece of advice, what would that advice be?
In general, you mean with
Yeah.
life in general?
Yeah.
um I think being true to yourself, being authentic, being genuine, not really caring what other people think of you.
Hmm.
Although you could probably tell that to your younger self, but I think that that's, a lesson that we all learn along the way with experience. Um, to enjoy every day to the fullest,
Hmm.
and set goals. They don't have to be big goals.
Right.
Um, but I think uh, most importantly, just figure out how to love yourself.
Yes.
That's what I would want to tell my little self. Just love yourself no matter what.
Yes. Fucking beautiful. It's so beautiful. Okay. I love it.
Our cheesy moment.
All right, so I've got kind of two more questions for you. The first one is um I know we were talking about just a moment ago how you do enjoy sex work. You do enjoy that job, the career path. You love it as a whole. What are your favorite parts whenever you are being booked? Like, so if someone is coming to you and they're like, "Oh, I'm interested in this," or "I'm interested in this," what's your favorite part of sex work and what do you enjoy on a date?
Sure. Yeah. What do I enjoy? So I love massage, and part of me feels like I maybe should have been a CMT, but I love it. I love providing massage. I love making people feel good. I love Nuru. I think it's so much fun. I've been able to show couples. I've demonstrated how to do it with couples so that they can provide that to each other.
Mhm.
So that's always fun. I really like helping people just to relax and unwind.
Mhm.
I love partnering
Mhm.
with other providers. That's really
Mhm.
fun. Um, I'm thinking about some funny stories. Probably like the craziest clients I've ever had are when I worked with the agency.
Mhm.
And should I tell the funny story?
Oh yeah, we can hear it.
So we had a client who myself and another provider, and he was a regular of hers. And he used to tell her that she reminded him of someone in his office who he had a crush on.
Mhm.
So what he would do is he would bring like a face cutout of this woman, and she would have to like hold it in front of her face.
Mhm.
And so so she's telling me this before he comes, and so she says, I'm going to be this woman and you're going to be the friend. And so he literally shows up with like the face cutouts on the popsicle stick.
Mhm.
And so we're holding up the face cutouts like through the session. And I remember at one point, like he was laying between us. We were kind of sandwiching each other. And she and I are both looking at each other with the face cutouts on. And we just start laughing hysterically because it was one of those moments like, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, really, what the fuck is going on? So like, you know what I mean? That kind of funny stuff. We also did we did parties when I worked at the agency. So we would do sex parties during the day. Those were a
Mhm.
lot of fun. Um, but I love Halloween's my favorite holiday and I love to
Mhm.
dress up. So I will wear different outfits for dates for like every holiday imaginable.
Mhm.
Um, I love role play. I think that it's so much fun, and I've done some. I worked on Night Flirt, and I
Mhm.
did some Skype sessions, and so I have done various role play, and I love it. It's
Mhm.
a lot. So yeah, those are some of the
Beautiful.
fun
Well-rounded. You're very well-rounded. I love it. I
things.
love it.
You sound pretty well rounded as well.
Oh, thank you. I try to be like to be a good person, to be kind of knowledgeable, and I guess to kind of find your direction. I feel like you have to be that. To
Hmm.
truly know yourself, I feel like you have to be that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, my last question for you is going to be, can you tell me what it looks like in a kind of responsibility aspect of Lily Blake? So what does a day for you look like?
Um, with sex work or in general?
Um, both. So kind of focus on sex work. I want to know what Lily Blake does to kind of prepare. Like if you have a date, what do you do to prepare? And kind of what that looks like going through the process.
Yeah, so there's a lot of maintenance involved. I had a photographer for a photo shoot ask recently about the maintenance aspect. She's like, "Does it ever get to be too much?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it does. It's like there's so much that we're doing the upkeep." Um, so there's some of that that goes on during the day. I have a family, so I'm often managing family and balancing school,
Right.
and then fitting clients in between. Obviously, the marketing aspect, so getting on social media, doing. I just started OnlyFans. Um, my one subscriber is my best girlfriend. And I was like, you have to go and you have to subscribe to my OnlyFans and be my first subscriber. And so
Mm-hmm.
last night I asked her, I was like, was that you that subscribed to my OnlyFans? And she said, yeah, that was me. And she came up with this really funny name. And so it's kind of been like our running joke. But yeah, so that aspect, and then finding time for self-care.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say that self-care is so important, and whatever that looks like for you, for me, I love taking my dog out, spending time with my family, any type of exercise, whatever I might feel like doing that day, getting out in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Even being at school with my peers can be part of self-care.
Oh, yes.
But the profession's kind of taxing that I'm going into, so I try to find alternative forms of self-care.
Right.
But yeah, so when I'm getting ready for a date, obviously there's some preparation. I have it depends on whether I'm doing an out call or in call, but getting the in call ready,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm going out to dinner with a date, making those arrangements, figuring out where we're going to go. It's always nice to go and do fun, unique things with
Right.
clients. And generally, yeah, I mean, I try not to stress about it too much
Mm-hmm.
anymore. I just put on some feel good music and kind of feel myself and get into
Mm-hmm.
that mindset. I've really learned how to separate whatever's going on personally in my life from the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you can find a way to compartmentalize, it's so helpful in this business.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. There's days that it's hard, and you
Oh,
and you
yeah.
can't do that, and that's okay too.
Yes, because overall, your mental health is extremely important, especially if you don't want to burn out.
Right,
Like,
right.
that can be overwhelming.
Yes, definitely. Mental health is important, and whatever, works for you to take care of that, whether you're in therapy or, medication. Like, I am a big supporter of taking care of mental health and making
Oh,
sure
yes.
that, I'm feeling good and um, in a good space, really in a good headspace. Cause I definitely don't want to see a client if I'm not in a good headspace, because it's not beneficial to them or to myself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I feel like sex work overall can have a huge toll on your mental stability just because you're helping so many other people. Like there's so many people and they have so many things going on that you're trying to accommodate for, and that can be heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm a believer in energy exchange,
Oh, yeah.
especially when I have someone on the table and I'm providing massage, and as a dom, you probably understand that sort of energy exchange
Mhm.
as well. So really being able to decompress after a session. I also, aftercare,
Oh, yes.
whatever self-care it looks like, is I think equally as important as preparing yourself for the date.
Yes, I completely agree on both aspects. It's one of those things where you kind of have to learn what your aftercare looks like and kind of accommodate to yourself. And that takes experience too. It's not one of those things that you just, oh, well, this is what I do to make myself feel good. I mean, it's not going to always be the same after every session, you know?
Exactly. I
So
agree.
that's how I kind of see it. Like find what works for you and use that to your advantage so that you're the best you that you can be. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you might have to reach out to somebody else to kind of help you with that. But overall, if you know and love yourself, you need to take the time for that. Especially if you want to remain in the industry, like to have longevity in the industry because it can be exhausting.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Yes, I agree with that. Finding ways to sustain yourself
Mhm.
in a healthy way, mentally, physically, and um, know when you've had enough, when you
Mhm.
reach that limit where you need to take a break. I see providers on social media and they're like, I'm back, da 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 da. And the
Yeah.
first thing I think to myself is, thank goodness that you took whatever time you needed to deal with your mental health or your family issues or whatever was going on for you. Because it's important, so we don't get burned out. You're right.
Yes, completely agree. Thank you so much for being so awesome and being a part of the show today.
I'm so grateful you asked me. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And
So I'm sorry, what'd you say?
oh, I just said it's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys again for helping the growth of Forbidden Depths and for listening to Miss Lily and her amazing story today. Again, at date Lily Blake 1. Make sure you give her a follow. If you have any questions, you can leave them for us. Also, thank you for continuing the growth of the channel. We'll see you on the next episode of Forbidden Depths.
Hey, it's Queen Frostbitten again, your host. I just want to remind you that you can follow us on YouTube at Forbidden Depths. That's FORBIDDENDEPTHS. Or over on Twitter at the number 4 BIDDENDPODCAST. Remember to always stay educated, consensual, and safe. We'll see you on the next show.